All right, Matt, we're here. We're back. I just saw you in Sweden. But
Yes, you
here's the
did.
thing you and I are prepared to talk shoes and brand and fitness racing. However, when you and I spoke, I think it's been 2 years now,
Three. Three
3 years
years.
ago,
Yes.
I reached out to you. I said, let's talk. We talked about your nice kick story. Over the past 3 years, we become friends. We talk business. We talk not business. And you post about your weight loss journey, which I've never talked to you about on the record or off the record. And when I was in New York and I ran into one of your ex coworkers at Puma, and I was like, oh, hey, Matt says hi. He's at Puma now, not when you
Mhm.
worked together at Puma. Anyway, and then he brought up your journey and how impressive it was. And I was like, I've never even talked to him about it. So I want to talk to him about it. I want to start with, like, I don't want you to retell the whole story. I want to know what it's like for you today. I want to know if how you are around food. How about just put it to you that way? Like,
Mhm.
what is your relationship with food these days?
So I thought about this. I actually sat next to somebody on a plane yesterday and had a conversation about relationship with food. They were also going through the process of losing weight, and we got on this topic. I even thought about this a little bit on my run this morning. My relationship with food is that I think that is the most important part of my whole journey was the relationship with food. Food was something of a way of dealing with problems for me before. It was a way that I was able to take my mind off of things. For some people it was the bottle, other people it was smoking. For me, it was food. And the big thing that started for me was changing my relationship with it to where it was no longer something to comfort me, but instead just serve purpose. And a big part, something I use, I have this line that I say, watch your words. And a lot of times I heard that, from my grandfather or whatever, my parents, and it's more so about like what words have impact on others by what you say. But I think that actually watch your words is more important internally, and watch your words and thinking about what things mean to you. And a big thing that in the whole process of losing weight, people use those words diet and exercise, and I don't like those words. One of the reasons is that diet has been co-opted by so many groups to mean a bunch of different things, positive and negative, and it's hard to define. So I think food is a better word than diet. And instead of exercise, exercise also can mean lots of different things, practicing something, whatever. No, I think the better word is movement. So the way I started is that, like, it starts out with food and movement. And when you start thinking about food, you think about what kind of food you need to be eating. And that was a start for me. And for me, I set some hard rules for myself early on, primarily to exclude certain categories of food, primarily eating out or takeout or drive through. And that was the start on the food front for me. Then, but really, that when there was a certain point, as an athlete, there was this time where like things switched from losing weight to training for athletics. And instead of the word food, it was fuel for me. And that's how I see what I put in my body, is that it's fuel. And I think of this phrase again that my one of my friends gave me, which is like, does this get me closer to or further from my goal? And that's a thought that I just often ask myself if I don't already have an immediate, from not just eating what's on my plan.
Well, what when you say what's on your plan?
Yeah, I mean, I have my go-to foods that I eat like almost automatically, like breathing every single day. There's really not a lot of thought into some of the fueling, because again, I don't look to get pleasure from a lot of these meals. These meals serve a purpose, and that's to nourish and fuel this body that's training.
So I've uh, been sober from drugs and alcohol for 26 years. And,
Mhm.
but you'll hear many addicts say, my drug of choice is more. And that was me. So even when I got sober in the early years, I would never want to leave the party because I hadn't hooked up yet, because like that was my
Mhm.
thing. Like now that booze wasn't there, and it's very common, right? Like
Mhm.
just dove into like how can I get over on how can I get more of what I want, right? And it was through people, right?
Mhm.
So that was my thing for a long time as well. And I used to say, I'm glad I don't have the food thing because I love to eat. And lo and behold, sober a really long time, cleaned up the rest of my life, right? Not acting out in those ways, not being a rageaholic, and like kind of food what was left. And so I woke up kind of in my 40s. Well, then I was running a lot in my 40s, right? And I could do that thing where it didn't matter. And then one day I woke up and it was like, oh wait, I cannot run this off anymore. And I have been I'm going to just say obsessed, like in a not healthy way. I'm never not thinking about what I'm putting in my body. And I wish it weren't that way.
Mhm.
Like my relationship with food now is it's hardly ever unconscious. Do you see what I'm saying? Like it's, is this good
Mhm.
for me? Is this bad for me? Am I good today? Am I bad today? Like I don't have a healthy relationship with food is kind of what I'm trying to get at. And I
Mhm.
I thought like, oh, this is a recent phenomenon. But like I found an old post, like, one of those 7-year posts where I talked about like losing a bunch of weight. It's like, oh, I've been obsessed with this for a long, long time. So it sounds like you've got a pretty healthy one these days, right? And I think the food as fuel thing, first of all, is a fucking uh eye-opening, what do you call it? Like nuclear, like the idea of, well, I'm going to eat till I'm full and then probably a little more. And, the phrases I
Mhm.
first started hearing, like, Matt, every meal doesn't have to be a party in your mouth, right? Because when we eat the fucking In and Out burger, it is.
Mhm.
And a couple pieces of lunch meat and some veggies, which is probably what I need for lunch, isn't a party in my mouth. So I guess I'm
Mhm.
saying all this, first of all, so the listener can relate. And then second of all, it sounds like you're in really, like, you've got a really good relationship with food. Like, is there a quote unquote struggle for you?
I don't think that there's much of a struggle now, for me. I I think that but it's taken years to be here. I'm not gonna say like this happened overnight. Like it definitely took some time to get to this point. Um, the way that I fuel is maybe not for everybody, but and it right now, like I mean, I'm having to now think about it because like a lot of it, I don't even think like it's just so much of the plan. Like I know, I just like instinctively know what I need to eat, and a lot of it has to do with my training schedule. Like I follow a very strict schedule on my Monday through Fridays. Now things are changing because I'm doing a different block of training, so I'm going to have to probably adjust meals and stuff like that. But like what I'm eating, what types of foods that are in that meal at what time all change based on what my next workout is, what my sleep is going to be, how much I need for it. Like it's all according to this plan. When I'm in my regular routine, it just becomes automatic. I know what days I'm eating chicken chili verde for dinner at what times. Like I just know exactly. It's just knowing like, hey, yeah, Wednesday morning workout, I'm doing 2 hours in zone two. Like I just know it's just so automatic. But it definitely took time to get here. But I think that part of it had to do with like I planned my fueling like I planned my workouts. And I think that I found myself like when I was in the process of losing weight early on, is I made colossal mistakes of not structuring my day out well enough and then getting stuck away from home and then having to just grab to eat whatever I could find that I was out. So I was doing one of two things. I was either overpaying drastically or I was like eating food that was not optimal for me.
Right.
And so that was like a big thing, was just planning everything as much as I possibly could.
How do you do at all these races? How much do you pack and how much do you go out?
I don't go out very much. people, a couple of my partners like laugh about it, but like I've been known to travel to a city and have 4 pounds of cooked pasta with me that comes with me on the journey. And that's, like as soon as I land, it goes straight into the fridge, never more than 4 hours out from pot to refrigeration. Um, yeah, it's a plan. It's still a plan. So, but after the race, I'll have fun. After the race, we went to, as a group, went for In and Out, like, and I know like what I can eat post race that is still part of the plan, even if it's not, maybe seen as the most ideal or whatever.
Right. Because it is hard to eat clean out and about, because even when you're doing like for me, the basic is like Chipotle, right? It's like usually like meat, rice, beans, no cheese, no sour cream, no sauce. Like, but how this stuff is prepared isn't the same as how it's prepared at home. And I went to the food truck that was next to the awards ceremony. There was, I forget the one that was next to it, but the one over, like I just wanted some chicken and and rice, but I know they're gonna bury it in fucking sauce. So through broken English, I had to tell them just like nothing. And she was like, nothing? I was like, no, just the chicken and the rice and the veggies. And like it was hard to get that. And again, it's all cooked in like a lot of grease and fat and oil, so it's never ideal. But
Yeah.
I don't do as well as you. I'm not a planner. So I don't do nearly as well with that stuff.
I will say a hack that I also do is that I do bring lots of stuff that I can with me, and it's not just the pasta. I also, if I know I'm going to be there for several days, like one of my first things I do once I get to the airport or once I land is I find a grocery store and I buy lots of food from the grocery store, and I kind of repeat what I do at home when I'm there. I plan in advance knowing like what are my cooking options where I'm staying. Do I have a hot plate? Do I have a way to boil? Do I have a way to bake? All those kinds of things in advance. And then thankfully on this trip, Adidas was incredible with the food that was available at the hotel. Like they really thought about the athletes with what was there, because I ate a lot there because they had so many clean options. And they know like what people there are going to want to have to eat. So it was smart on their part.
So, well, thanks for that, dude. Because, like I said, we've
Yeah.
never talked about it on or off camera. So, and it's obviously this massive part of your story. I mean, I don't recognize that dude. When you post those old pictures, I'm like, I don't know that guy.
Yeah, I don't know him much either. I mean, it's kind of fun, and at times like I got stopped in passport control coming back because they saw my passport photo and they looked at me, and then I kind of like they were looking at me intently, like back and forth, making eye contact. They're speaking to each other and looking at me, and I'm like, "Oh fuck, what happened?" And then this is like one of those rare times where they like actually asked, like, "Do you have another form of identification?" I'm like, "Oh fuck, I know where this is going." But the problem is that my identification for my driver's license is even older. And I've intentionally, like, quote unquote, lost my license. Told the state that I lost my license so they'd reissue me a new one and extend the expiration date because I want to keep that old photo as a reminder. This one's even looks even less likely. But anyways, I share that because like I do detach myself from that prior person. But at the time, like I started to detach myself then for who I was going to become. There's a story that I haven't told yet. It's kind of it's the title of a book I've been working on called The Athlete Inside You. And it was about like probably 2 or 3 months into starting to regularly go to my $10 a month Planet Fitness in Bulverde, Texas. Um, where I would stare myself in the mirror as I was on the treadmill or on the elliptical. And what I started envisioning was that there was an athlete inside me that I was going there to train. And my purpose for being there was to train that athlete. Now, everybody on the outside could not see that athlete, but I knew he was in there, and I went to train to make him work so that one day you would see him come through that body. So I share that because detachment of the old self, it is kind of it's I was detached at that time from the new self and I was working towards that.
Well, thanks for saying that, dude. I mean, that's
Yeah.
because I need to hear that. I really do. I get really, not only do I get hung up in the weight thing, but I'll get up in the age thing, right? And then, like, luckily
Mhm.
being around HYROX, I see these men and women, and I'm like, oh wow, like, Cheryl inspires me all the time. You know what I mean? Because she's older than me and like out there doing it. Um, so anyway, thank you for saying that, dude.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't even want to talk about shoe stuff now. I mean, like, what's more important than what you just said? It's like, I don't even know how to transition. I know you wanted to come prepare with transitions, but let's talk about, because I think we've kind of I've already talked to death how amazing it was and the money put into what's happening. I want to
Mhm.
talk about what we think is next. And I kind of wish I'd listened to our old interview first, because I bet we said some stuff that we probably undersold at the time. We knew it was coming, but
Mhm.
every time it's larger. So I want to know what's next. What do you think is next for all of these brands that are now, when I say all in, I mean they clearly make a gazillion dollars on running shoes, but you know,
Mhm.
there wasn't a, go full hybrid 2 years ago, right? There wasn't whatever
Correct.
the hell Dylan's wearing now, right? Like,
Mhm.
so where do you think, not just in shoes, but you know, apparel, all of it, where do we think we're going?
Yeah, so I think what's really special about fitness racing, and HYROX specifically as a brand is that for the longest time, every major footwear brand has had a training category, but training as a category was to support another sport that the athlete was playing, or was just general gear that people could wear to the gym. And what HYROX has shown and fitness racing is showing is that, Reebok had the tagline, like fitness is a sport, but that was just like a tagline and a marketing pitch. This is proof of concept that it is. And I think that for what's really special, but also going to be a challenge with some of these organizations, is that the training departments within organizations saw training as a category of like, how do we get the football player prepped? How do we get the baseball player prepped? How do we get the basketball player prepped? And now they have this thing of they have a sport now that they're building product for. And that's something that's really special because you didn't have this before.
So do you think they probably didn't learn from, they probably kind of had a pivot like this during CrossFit?
Somewhat. CrossFit was the thing that was unique about CrossFit is that to make a good CrossFit shoe, it was relatively simple to do because CrossFit is so built on lifting, right? And so that's kind of it. There's a little bit of an oxymoron with footwear in terms of a lot of the stuff is built around cushioning and support and transition. You don't want that in a lifting shoe. You actually want it as simple as possible. You really just need a stable base that you can feel the floor in. Um, Hybrid racing or fitness racing, you need a lot more than that. And so that's actually requiring much more engineering and research and development and testing than lifting.
Well, I want to show you something. I didn't plan on this, but I'm going to grab Visual Age, which almost never happens on this program, but I happen to come home with some shoes. So hang on one second. First of all, I'm gonna quiz you, and I know you're gonna get it right. But just by looking at them, do you know the difference between
Hmm.
this shoe? I should point it like this, and this
Hmm.
shoe.
Well, I know the one in your right hand is the new trainer shoe,
Okay,
and then that one is the race shoe, the DV8 for HYROX
right. So
Elite.
uh, Matt gets a lot of
And I
texts.
definitely said those in the wrong order.
No, you got the right. This is the right shoe. This is the trainer.
Yeah. No, I'm saying I said the Deviate 4 Elite HYROX. I probably put it in the wrong order. You had
Right,
there's like
right.
very specific brand guidelines, and I didn't put Nitro in the name
Right.
either.
When
So
I
I
do
already screwed that up.
when I do posts, I always text Matt and say, "Can you please give me the exact name of this shoe?" Because it's
Yeah.
one thing shoes companies love to do. It's add words that they don't need, make up fake technologies. It's amazing. But
Yeah.
here's my question for you, which first of all, this is pretty dope. This wasn't in there before. It says sub 60. Pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um, uh, how this was explained to me when I received these from Puma was, you know, this is the training shoe, and it's the training shoe so you can train on stations, but you wouldn't wear it during the race because you want this shoe, which in that way, are they in fact admitting there's kind of no way to have both? You can't really make a shoe for perfect stations and really fast?
Uh, no, it's not that you can't. I think that a lot of footwear brands love the idea of selling multiple units of shoes to an athlete for multiple purposes. You can make a great shoe for both. I will say one thing that I'm happy that brands are starting to do is they're not trying to ram carbon plates down everybody's throat and say you always need carbon plates, because the problem was is people were saying this is your shoe you can do everything in and you should wear it 5 days a week. And it's like, no, you absolutely should not. So race day shoes are for race day or very like once a week speed sessions. Otherwise, you should be in non-plated footwear. So I'm happy that now brands are starting to make shoes, even as simple as making a non-plated version of your race day shoe, so you can at least have the same fit and feel of that.
Right, but are they not also saying this is a better this you don't call this the outer, what do you call this?
That's the outsole.
The outsole.
Yeah.
That this is better for stations than this because why? Like it's less grip than
Well,
this,
there's
but it's flatter.
right, but you're making an important sacrifice in that second one there. Okay, so in that elite shoe, you have less rubber tread on the bottom of it,
This
right?
one?
Yes, and one of the reasons you want less rubber tread is that rubber tread is heavy. So when it comes to race day, you do need to decrease weight where you can without sacrificing your grip.
Okay.
So I can tell you that it's much easier and cheaper to construct that trainer than it is that elite shoe, because you have a one-piece outsole that is much easier to fix to the midsole than the there with the elite. So that's also another reason.
Well, and this one's considerably lighter, right? Like I don't have the specs in front of
Hmm.
me, but this racing shoe is way lighter.
Yes.
And just to be clear, this is the same as the pretty pink one, but as I said in my post the other day, like this is clearly the new pink, right?
Yeah, that's the new pink.
Aqua
Teal's the new pink.
aqua slash teal slash what would you call it?
Yeah, I think aqua teal. That's a good one.
All
Aqua
right.
teal. There you go.
They probably call it,
But
Puma blue or something.
yeah, but I do think that there is such thing as a shoe that you can train well in and race in. I had that experience. I raced in two different shoes over the weekend. I raced in the Drop Set Elite on Saturday for men's pro doubles, and then I raced in the Drop Set Pro on Sunday. And I knew that the Drop Set Pro I was going to need to do a little bit more work on the run just because it didn't have a carbon plate. But I really wanted to actually like test to see how could it do in a race. And I was surprised. It did exceptionally well. So what I think is
Can I
great
grab
that
one? So I grab one for visual aids.
yeah, I'll go grab both if you want me to.
So which one
That's
is
Drop
which?
Set Pro.
That's Drop Set Pro. Okay,
That
which
you
I've
have in
only
your hands,
done,
yes.
which I did one run in. I went to meet up with our buddy Rich. Liked it so far, but I only ran 2.5 miles, so and pretty slow, so you can't tell much. Do I have a pair of those too? I don't think I got a pair of those.
These are the Drop Set Elites. Hold on, let me get you so I'll show you the range. All right, so the Drop Set, and just so we went over the Deviate range or a little bit. So we have Deviate Elite, okay? The non-HYROX version is the Deviate 4, and then a non-plated version of it is the Deviate Pure. So that way you have a full range of your Zone 2 to your speed and your race shoe, all in the Deviate range. On the Adidas side of things, the Drop Set range has you pretty much covered, which is you start with this one is a more traditional functional strength trainer, the Drop Set. Then they had the Drop Set Elite, which they unveiled back in like February or so. Tim wore it in Hamburg, as I recall. But then this was the one that was introduced in Stockholm, which is the Drop Set Pro. And this one is much more of a trainer, but like I said, you can race in the shoe. I think for a lot of like early HYROXers, this is like the perfect shoe for them because it's something you can train in and then go take over to race day,
When is
and you're
that?
not having to
When is
deal.
that available?
This one is available now, like it just came out. So you can actually go online. I think Dick's Sporting Goods has them in stock right now, a couple other places.
And this one is the one that's available July 1st for Puma, right?
Correct. Yes. And
The
so the big price that
the training
hmm?
shoe. I'm saying for people who aren't watching, I'm saying the train. I'm
Oh,
saying this shoe, so it's
yeah,
the training shoe.
right. And I can't remember what that training shoe costs from Puma.
Sorry, this is the training
Um,
shoe.
yeah, that's a training shoe. Do you remember the price?
I mean, I
Let me
could
pull
Google it.
fact check that.
I could Google
Yeah,
it.
yeah. But the thing that's big on this one here is so that the Elite is 270. This is really is for someone who is more of an advanced HYROX racer, in my opinion. I think you have to be a pretty good runner for this shoe as well. The stack height is something you have to get used to. If you don't have the best run form, I could see how this could be a little bit of a challenge. The Drop Set Pro, though, this one's great for all, really. And I think like the early HYROXers,
I'm a big heel striker.
this, yeah, here you go. The other thing too, that one was 270. This is 150. And this, so I
Interesting.
think like I know it's crazy to say, wow, 150 so inexpensive, but like the way that running shoes have gotten priced, um, it's insane.
Yeah, I
The
pay
thing that's
150
really
for
cool
my
about it is,
I pay 150 for my kids. So 150 to me is a very cheap
yeah,
shoe.
yeah. So no, but it's great. It's got all the benefits of like most of the running shoes with the light strike foam like cushioning. Really stable, like it runs up the sides, that provides good heel support, and then the traction is really good, like really noticeably good. So
And then the shoes that Dylan wore
mhm.
aren't aren't available for a while. And the version we saw, same thing, the one that I have pictures of them that Lauren wore the same shoe, but it was the different colorway, I guess, or more
Mhm.
branded. But both of them are not coming out for a while, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, and I think that actually the one that Dylan wore in the singles race was a sample that was a different version from what was worn later that you saw the red hits on. It's very common that footwear brands are going to have multiple development samples. In
So this is
like that.
Dylan,
Yeah.
and then this is Lauren. Can you tell people the audio audience version, the audience, what the difference is? This is Lauren. Look at those fucking legs, by the way.
Oh, she's very strong.
That's muscle, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not being inappropriate. That's muscle I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So what do you so she the I messaged my contact at Nike and they said no, those are the same.
I'd have to see them face to face.
It's
Even if
okay.
they're like the same build, yeah, you don't know production dates and whatever.
Right. Well, let me see what Dylan said they were called though. Do you know what they're called?
I've heard two names already, so I don't even want to say either because
I'm
one
going
of
to.
them's not
I'm going
right.
to.
Yeah,
So I don't care. Hybrid Fly.
that's one of the names I heard. That's a good one.
I was like, they got to throw in raccoon, right? I mean, I know
Mm,
that you got to be a
he,
bigger
he's not a he's not a signature athlete.
No, I
If they do
know.
that, his contract's going to need another 0 or 2 on it. So
Listen,
wait for that, Dylan.
we know he's not Tiger, LeBron, Steph. We know that. But with winning the world champ, I think they should throw in, like we said, the fake technology. This has got, a special raccoon outer, something. Just sneak it in there.
If I don't see a player exclusive version for Dylan, I'm going to be thoroughly pissed. Like I want to see a black white. I want a raccoon logo. Just make it for Dylan. But like I need a PE out in the world that I got to chase down. That's all I want.
What's PE? So for people who
Oh,
don't know,
PE, player exclusive. So player exclusive is a shoe that is sampled by a brand that is made exclusively for the player, for the athlete. But in the sneakerhead world, those are like really big grails to chase because they're very hard to come by. Oftentimes they're made in colorways that are never made available to the public. And there's that little personal touch, like sometimes like a logo or their name is stitched in somewhere. And they are always only available in the size of the athlete or size 9 because that's sample sizing, and then every once in a while in the manager size because you got to take care of them.
Got it. Yeah, I saw Caitlin Clark was talking about she gives away her shoes a lot, but like these kids were asking her at this recent game, and she was like, "No."
Yeah, sometimes they can't because they might be a development sample, and actually the dev team needs to test the
Well, I
product
think she
after
was
the
saying
season.
like it's the only pair, and she's just not going to do it. She just likes them, and she's
Oh,
not gonna. She's not gonna. She's not
oh,
gonna do it. But
or
I
that.
mean, where were you? Were you in the stadium for the men's final?
Of course, yeah.
Where like can you like recount like your experience? I don't know who you were rooting for, but it was hard not to go bananas for Dylan. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, I was really rooting for honestly Hunter just because of the storyline of his career. Um, I think it's unfortunate yet again that there's like penalties that are this cloud over a final. I mean, I feel like there are three constants in HYROX, which are three constants in life: death, taxes, and penalties becoming a topic of conversation in an elite race. Um, so that was unfortunate. He fought hard and just didn't have enough at the end. I will say that when Dylan came in, we saw him exploding on the burpees, and we were like, put a little mental note like, oh, he's not done. He like really came alive there in the burpees, which again we saw him do in DC. We've seen him do before. We knew that on the row he was going to light it up. Sure enough, he lit it up. Lunges weren't going to be an issue for him. And it was pretty much known, like, yeah, he's going unbroken. Like, there's no question about it. Um, did I think it was going to come down to the final second? No. But I remember when he came in at 6, we were looking at the wall ball counter. I'm like, oh, he's going to podium. Like, it's for sure. Let's watch it. Dylan's going to podium. And then, he gets about 30 or 40 in. We're like, oh my God, he could get second. And then it was, oh, he could do it all. He could win the whole thing. And so all of us were there cheering him on because we knew like, oh, he's got a really good shot at going from 6-1 at the wall balls.
Well, it's only been a week, but I'm going to say this is like I've seen a few cool endings in sports that I was at live. One of them was the Falcons. I think they were playing the Niners. I might have been the Cardinals. I don't know, but it was a last second touchdown with Billy White's Hughes Johnson. You can look it up. If it was replayed today, he didn't make it. He like went down with the one, kind of crawled. Maybe I'll overlay it on this if I remember for the video. And then in 1992, when the Braves beat the Pirates on the last at bat in the NLCS, if you Google that anywhere, it's one of the best baseball games of all time. I was there for that. This is up there. Watching this happen, watching same thing, like, oh, I think he's going to catch these guys in the podium. And I think especially the part that's incalculable for me is rooting for the Americans. Alyssa had already pulled off this big upset. And so I was already like, just
That was a big upset?
Well, I mean, if you asked anybody, they said, well, maybe Alyssa or Lauren could win, but Joanna is probably going to win. That's what everybody said, pretty much. Except my buddy Chandler Smith, who showed me a text where he picked Alyssa. But it certainly was an upset. It wasn't like unheard of. It wasn't Mike Tyson and what's his name, but like it was certainly an upset. And again, I wanted Americans to win. And so having that happen and then having Dylan do it, two people I really like, it was like an amazing, amazing night to be a part of.
Yeah, it was. I will say mildly, through when I saw Hunter was struggling, I thought the storyline of Tim going back to back was another thing that was going to be an incredible thing to potentially witness. Especially because we knew it was going to come down on the wall balls where it did last time,
right?
In Chicago. So I thought that storyline might be unfolding. You remember that Alyssa had just won a couple hours before, and I'm like, holy cow, what a moment for Adidas that they have two athletes that take take first place on both races. But yeah, I mean, it was, of course, like we were cheering. I mean, I've known Dylan for years, one of the nicest guys in the sport, and it couldn't, success couldn't happen to a better person. So I'm really happy for him with that.
Well, and I think globally it's great. You've got two charismatic, really well-liked athletes. So,
yes,
if they're smart, they'll really play this well and, use them in all their marketing. And, I don't know what deals they're already working on, right? So Dylan's with Nike, she's with Addy. I don't know. Like, I think he might be about to sign a watch deal. Like, whatever they've got cooking, it's probably going to, like, people want to cash in on the love.
Yeah, and I know like this might rub people outside of the United States the wrong way, but it's going to help grow the sport tremendously in the United States and around the world for a little bit if you have two really charismatic, good media people that are American to win it. Like they're both just perfect for media. They both have stories that are phenomenal that can be told. And I mean, as I love Tim, I think he's a very nice guy, but he is not somebody he just wants to work and he wants to compete and he wants to perform. He's not as big on telling stories and doing the media circuit like others are,
Right.
and that's only going to grow the sport so much. But you compare that to Dylan, and God, I mean, the guy like bringing everybody to tears in the post race, interviews. Um, Guy's got an amazing story. He's a phenomenal human being, and you can't help but cheer for that guy. And then if you just see this clip in your feed, you're like, "What is this sport?" Huh? So
Well, I gotta say, I was gonna share a picture. There's been some great, imagery, and one of the pictures that Alyssa shared of her running by on the farmers, and like there's an actual fucking audience, right? And there's a couple of other shots that further back, like she's on the lunges or something, and you see, and no, we didn't fill that stadium. Of course we didn't. But it's like, oh, like this is a real sport. This isn't this, again, I always go back to, if you look at my 2022 Vegas coverage, those were world championships. And there's a half dozen athletes. It's probably more, but it felt like it. And the difference, we filmed the live stream on phones, and if you look at like, oh, this thing has arrived, and we kind of keep saying that over and over, but that's why I wanted to ask you kind of what we think is next for these brands, and what you and I talked about 3 years ago. Where's the rest of the races? Where are the rest
yeah,
of the races in North America, Matt?
yeah. Well, let's start with 3 years ago. So after that call or after the podcast interview, I asked you to help introduce me to a couple athletes that you were in contact with. One of them eventually became my coach, Rich Ryan, and the other one being Lauren Weeks. And because I noticed that both of them were wearing Saucony Endorphin Pro 3s. And I wanted to like genuinely know, like, were they working with Saucony? Because I knew the folks at Saucony quite well. And was under the suspicion that the brand was not aware of HYROX. And
Right.
I actually went to Saucony. I'm like, hey, you guys know that two of some of your best athletes, along with many others, are wearing the Endorphin Pro 3s. They never even heard of HYROX. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So like I knew the sport was going to be massive. And I was like, I'm gonna just start talking to the brands now about this wave that's coming. Like, please pay attention to it. We did see that actually Saucony finally like signed somebody right before World Champs. So
Who did
they're in the
who,
mix now.
who did they sign?
I believe her name's Donati from Switzerland. Let me pull it up. I have it saved.
I'll pull it up. Saucony
I think
HYROX.
hold on, let me get the name right. No, it wasn't Donati, was it? Hold on. She's
Lucy?
at Addie.
Was it Lucy?
I was right. Alicia Donati.
Oh, I know now. Yes, Donati. I know you're talking about. Let's look her up.
Alicia Donati, yeah. But I believe it's like a Saucony regional, not Saucony global. Saucony's owned by Wolverine, so they have a very different structure from a lot of these organizations, anyways.
Right.
Yeah, Saucony Switzerland has signed her.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, the brands are very aware. And you could see the difference in brand presence in Stockholm versus Chicago. That's 1 year. Look at how different they were. I mean, they had some people on the ground last year, some of the brands, just to
Maybe.
observe. Yeah. Puma didn't have anything outside the venue. And now look what you had this time. In that hybrid house, or what did they call that fan zone area? Was it hybrid house or house of
Yeah.
HYROX? Yeah. Fan engagement activation
Let's
area.
work. Let's work on our brands,
join.
guys. Let's work on our brand. Like everything was called Hybrid House. Let's work on that.
Yeah. No, but the fan zone area, there were a lot of things that people could engage with, interact with. The mall being right there, you saw enormous signage by all of the brands. Adidas, as soon as you walked into the mall, Adidas had this huge area that was all theirs, two enormous shoe boxes
Well,
that I
I
thought
get
were
off the
really cool
plane and
visual with it.
I'm getting my bag, and there's a Manuela Garcia post, and I was like, oh, cool. And I had no idea that Dylan and Calypso and others were all over that airport. I had no idea.
Yeah, Nike crushed it on the whole out of home. Like they really you had to like put blinders on to not know HYROX was happening in Stockholm that weekend. And Nike was a big, it had a hand in that.
And I will say, I stayed at a couple of hotels, and the one I stayed at the end was the one next to the venue called the Quality Arena. And the woman did say to me specifically, these are some of the best guests we've had. Everybody was amazing. So good job, everybody. Way to be good guests.
Yeah, well, don't count on HYROX people to be like coming in at 3 a.m. drunk, screaming in the hallways. That doesn't
Well,
usually
maybe
track.
that's what they're, I guess maybe that's what they're used to. So do we think we're finally going to get in 2027 or maybe Q4 26? Will we get more races? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Well, I think that 2027 is going to be enormous. I think that what we're going to see, we already saw China starting to catch the wave, right? It's an enormous market, a huge market. And China is built for large events, built for large venues. I mean, their basketball arenas alone are like hold double what our NBA do. It's just insane, the size and scale of everything in China.
Have
My
you been?
prediction, I'll put it here.
Go ahead.
Have I what?
No, prediction. Go.
Oh, prediction. We're going to see one of the major Chinese footwear brands getting into hybrid very soon. And I'm talking Anta, Li Ning, Peak, or 361. I really anticipate we're going to see one. Very good chance it's going to come from Anta because Anta now owns 29% of Puma. They're the largest shareholder of Puma. So I don't see any way that Anta doesn't step to the plate.
I'd
Honestly.
never heard of Anta until I was in Alula 2 years ago. I think many of our listeners will have not heard of Anta.
Not just major. They have more stores in China than Foot Locker has globally, like almost double actually. Yeah, they're huge.
Have you been to that arena by chance? Do you know that Air Asia arena or anything? I don't know if you've been there for anything.
I have not been to that arena yet. No, I've been to Hong Kong several times, but I haven't been to that arena.
What else did you want to cover in this call about the state of our industry?
I mean, I think that it's very fast. It's always been an exciting time. We've been here, seen nothing but rise, right? And I think we're going to continue to see it. What I do think we are going to witness, though, in the next year, especially, is that there's been some necessary growing pains that haven't happened yet that are going to have to happen, because if you put it off too long until it's a crisis, it could be a very costly one. So I think like there's just been a little bit of a misstructure on some things with the sport. There's been a little bit of lack of clarity as to way brands can interface with the sport. Those have to get buttoned up. And I think Meg spoke about it just recently. I've thought about this before. The qualification process has changed like every season. We're going to have to actually settle to some standards and norms that athletes can build their lives and train around. The fact that everything seems to change and adjust and adapt and the rules get rewritten after the fact, like it's getting too big to do this. So
I felt the same way, but then I remembered that our friends at CrossFit also did this famously. They changed qualifications and number of athletes almost every season for a while. Like regionals, which everybody looks back on so fondly, there was regionals for like 3 years. And then every year since, it's been different. And I'm not saying that's the reason CrossFit failed, but I'm saying that like I just think it's just not.
if I'm wanting it, here's
Go
a
ahead.
wild thought. If I'm wanting to build a $1 billion brand, I'm not taking pages from CrossFit's playbook.
I know. I'm just saying that, like, I think that even when it was good for CrossFit, people kind of dealt with it because, like, well, whatever. Like, I mean, I wish people would draw harder lines, but I don't know. I all season said I think this is going to cost them at World Champs one of these wacky rules, and it did. But they didn't back down from it. They said, oh,
Mhm.
that's we're cool with our decisions.
Yeah. I think that, look, everything works until it doesn't. And the problem with it is that it's easier for things to not get noticed until they become a real problem. I don't know. I do think that there's just some things that need to be thought through a little bit more, and then also really set in stone and kept so people can plan around.
I concur. All right, man. Well, thanks for hopping on. We're technically in HYROX off season. What are you working towards or training towards next?
So I have a couple races, not HYROX races this fall. I actually don't, I just have one race right now that I'm booked for, just for fun race with my brother in November. Um, and I am planning for some distance stuff, a trail race that I'm eyeing in October. Next season is going to be different. I'm not really going to be making the chase to try to qualify. I'm really using it as a year to build and get stronger and really focus on the season after. I know that I need to get stronger, need to get a little bit faster, but strength is a little bit of my Achilles right now. So I just need to really focus on building that.
Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 41 years old.
Can you get faster at 41 years old, Matt?
Absolutely. I'm way
Okay.
faster than I was a year ago. Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Never too late to start, man. Best day to start is today.
I concur. All right, dude. We will talk soon.
Yes. Thank you, Matt.
All right, let me take you off record here.